Sudden fall takes the market to today's low. Heavyweights Kotak Mahindra Bank, TCS, HUL and Axis Bank drag Nifty the most, and the metals see a sharp fall. Mid-caps underperformed today.
RBI's Monetary Policy Committee decides to hold rates and keep its stance unchanged, even as it sees economic growth holding up and inflation staying near 5% in FY24, well above its target of 4%.
CNBC-TV18 learns that the government would like public sector oil marketers to effect a price cut on fuel. Now that they are nearing the normalcy on fuel under recoveries is the reason.
Hero Motocorp's new CEO Niranjan Gupta tells CNBC-TV18 in his first interview since taking charge that the board wants him to win in new segments like premium bikes and EVs. He adds that the recent VRS will enable talent refresh.
India will need huge amounts of steel, JSW Group Chairman Sajjan Jindal tells CNBC-TV18, explaining why JSW Steel is spending $25 billion to up capacity from 28 to 50 million tons by the year 2030. He adds that the cement and infrastructure businesses could go public in the next 2 years. Hello and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Poddar, and with me as always is my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. Pavitra, good afternoon. Quite an eventful day for the markets and lots of cues really to digest from. In fact, market did spur up because of the RBI's unchanged stance on the key rates. But soon after, as the market is digesting the overall mood and the RBI commentary and some of the other factors, it has seen a sudden fall. So at the moment, take a look at the markets with minor cuts on Nifty as well as sensex down almost 100 points at this particular point. Bank Nifty is also on the flat line with a negative bias, and the mid-cap universe that has taken a deeper cut, 0.38% down right now. When it comes to advanced decline ratio, it is in favor of the declines. But if you really look at the overall picture, some of the gainers like JSW Steel on the back of some of the bullish commentary really coming in from Sajjan Jindal, the promoter of the company. But on the other hand, what market will be keenly looking out for is definitely monsoon, oil prices, and also RBI's move going forward. And RBI really stating that it is not a pivot and just a pause, and keen eye on inflation are some of the important cues, Pavitra.
Oh, absolutely. And, we're going to wait by for all of that. You also have the Fed meeting, which is next week. So a lot of the focus could really shift to the global markets. But for today, we got that sudden fall that came through at around 11:30, and we have been, pretty down since then. It is the mid-cap index, which, like Nisha was pointing out, is suffering the bigger cut. So 130 points lower there. In terms of stocks, which are seeing some cuts, the oil marketing companies giving back a lot of the gains that we saw yesterday. HPCL, BPCL were up 4 to 5% yesterday. Today, they're seeing some cuts on the back of this news flow that we were talking about. A lot of the auto stocks seeing cuts, and pretty much at the day's low as well. So M&M, you have names like Tamo, all of these under pressure right now. And some of the big IT companies also seeing some cuts. Of course, there was a big cut in the Nasdaq overnight. So this is what we're watching in terms of the market action. We'll come back to this. But first up, the big story on Business Lunch, like we were pointing out, oil marketing companies are in focus. This is the government expects refiners to reduce transport fuel prices, and this is on the back of health of OMCs recovering and coming back to their normal levels. So Sapna is here with more on this. Sapna.
Hi. So this is an expectation in some quarters of the government, and more like a messaging or more like a request. This is something that, of course, the OMCs will have to take their own call in terms of timing, if at all this is possible, how much, all of that. Within bounds of legitimacy, pass on some benefits to the consumers. From a consumer perspective, the government is very clear that prices should be stable, and in fact, if possible, they should be trending downwards. So, they expect the last quarter was of course good, and they expect the current quarter also to be good. So, on the back of 2 to 3 good quarters, there is an expectation that the under recoveries are close to having recovered most of it, and maybe there is scope for some kind of a passing on of benefit to consumers. So that's overall the government's angle. From the OMC perspective, two things that we need to keep in mind, of course, is that, in the coming days, how the Saudi Arabia outpost cut is going to play out. The physical impact will be, obvious from July onwards. And apart from that, also the exchange rate, the dollar-rupee rate is going to play an important role because, when we talk of the Indian crude basket, it has trended below $75 odd. But there's also a markup in terms of your rupee, the way the rupee moves up or down. So that markup also needs to be kept in mind because that's a direct cost for the oil marketing companies. We have seen in the Q3 results, for example, all three of them had mentioned massive forex losses. So these are two factors that we need to keep in mind. And I suppose this is a call that the OMCs will take. But yes, the government at its end is unequivocal in its messaging.
Right, Sapna, thanks so much for getting us a very interesting bit of information on the political nudge by the government to OMCs. Moving on then, shares of Gati are really surging in trade after the company, remember, reported what was a strong business update for the month of May. So consistent 5% growth on that particular counter today. And Vivek, my colleague, is right here with a quick snapshot of the details. Vivek, what is it that the market is really liking?
Well, absolutely right. It's a strong operational update as far as the month of May is concerned. And what the company has said is that the total volumes for May, now this includes both the surface as well as the air express segments, has actually come in at 98 kilotons. And it's gone up almost 9% on a month-on-month basis. On a year-on-year basis, optically, the growth looks subdued. It's up 1% on a year-on-year basis. But however, the company says that the base quarter, that is May of 2022, actually had multiple exceptional items on the back of which, the base quarter was very strong. What the company is saying is that despite, such a strong base, there has been some growth, which they say is quite positive. Now, what they're saying is that May volumes continuing to show an improving trend, augurs quite well, and they believe that, that the super hub that has come up at Bhiwandi is something that is also aiding to the volumes. Overall, strong operational update, which is what is keeping the stock quite active in the session today.
All right, Vivek, thanks a lot for getting us those details. Gati stock is up 5%. It's off the highs, but still holding up with gains of 5%. With that, we're going to take a short break now. But when we come back, and before that, actually, here's a quick reminder for our viewers. You can catch our special discussion on the run-up in metals on expectations of policy stimulus in China. So do stay tuned for that on our special Who Moved the Market on our YouTube channel at 2 p.m. With that, we're going to get into a short break, but we'll be back in 2 to track lots more.
डायबिटीज कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने इतने स्टेप्स उठाए।
नो थैंक्स।
तो हमने भी आपके लिए एक कदम बढ़ाया। बजाज अलियांज लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रेजेंट्स डायबिटिक टर्म प्लान, इंडियाज ओनली टर्म प्लान एक्सक्लूसिवली डिजाइन फॉर डायबिटिक्स। ये प्लान आपको हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल अपनाने पर रिन्यूअल प्रीमियम्स पे रिडक्शन देता है। समझो हो गया।
The MG Cluster Blackstone. Drive unstoppable.
दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। कहा देश का सबसे बड़ा पावर प्लांट बनाना इम्पॉसिबल, तो हमने पॉसिबल कर दिया। बोला कोने कोने तक बिजली पहुंचाना किसी के बस की बात नहीं, हमने पहुंचा दी। सवाल उठे एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली गैस सब तक कैसे पहुंचेगी हमने वो भी पहुंचा दी। कहा तो ये भी गया पैकेज फूड बिजनेस हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, लेकिन हमने कर दिखाया। बातें उठी सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। और जब कहा गया देश के एयरपोर्ट्स इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के नहीं हो सकते, तब भी हमने सुना नहीं, कर दिए। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते, हम करके दिखाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
तेरी रोशनी हूं मैं, किस ना।
Trading shouldn't feel like this. इसलिए हमने बनाया ICICI Direct Flash Trade, जो देता है clutter free experience, quick entry और exits, live tracking के साथ, सिर्फ ₹7 per order. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch, and let's get you an important corporate voice now. JSW Group Chairman and Managing Director Sajjan Jindal admitted that China-owned MG Motor is on the list for a potential acquisition as the group eyes forays into the electric vehicle space. With the EV plan yet to firm up, JSW Group is also eyeing battery manufacturing for growth. So let's listen in to some of those highlights from that conversation.
As part of our renewable industry, renewable journey, we are looking at battery to manufacture batteries in India. That's an area which is a very large area, and we feel that we are pretty kind of organized to be in that sector, because it is a sector which is up our alley, and we understand that business very well. So that's one area we are looking to do. On MG Motor, if you are asking me specifically, because I don't shy away from difficult questions, that's also in one of the is one of the lists in our list. Could be one of the options if they want to sell, but I'm not sure as yet.
Okay, a majority stake, is that what you're eyeing as far as MG Motors is concerned? And what else is on that list? You said that that's one of the contenders on the list. What else is on the list? So when I said list, what I meant was that there are many opportunities, global opportunities, which they all want to, they are knocking at India's doors, and they are looking for good partners in India. So we could partner up with European companies, Japanese companies, Chinese companies. So there are so many opportunities which are existing today. During the COVID-19 pandemic, you had made it very clear that while you are a believer in free trade, you had said that our rules of engagement, especially on economy and business, needed to be very different with China, because in your words, China had not behaved properly. Now, is there a change in position there as far as dealing with China and Chinese business is concerned? So there are two things. One is that in EV, China is way ahead of competition, global competition. So therefore, China becomes a natural ally as far as new technology in battery and electric mobility is concerned. So that is one part of the story. On the other side, that if we have hostile relationship between India and China, then obviously we will not work with the Chinese. That is very clear.
All right, some big plans there at JSW Group, and also Pavitra, you will recall that not very long back, this group used to be very, very acquisitive and aggressive, and it'll be good to see them back on the M&A deal straight. Yeah, it's been a while. Last was Lafarge transaction when they went very aggressive. All right, some more important corporate commentary coming in on Business Lunch today. Well, the auto major Hero Motocorp, that recently underwent a leadership change, and the new CEO Niranjan Gupta spoke to our colleague Parekh Luthra about the recently introduced VRS scheme and also the capex plans for this particular year. Listen in.
From time to time, every company has to go through refreshing, talent churn, in order to ensure that the talent is future ready and future fit. We had not done that in Hero for a long time, and therefore we felt the need to actually refresh our talent so that it provides, as I said, the talent needs to be fit for the next 5, 7, 10 years time. And it was that exercise which was done, which was the management VRS. Overall, around 10% of the staff took the VRS, and that paves the way for the future in terms of building the organization, much simpler organization, de-layered, simplified, which will ensure that the speed at which we move will be much faster than what we have been doing. Given the framework of EV that's changing rapidly, whether it's in terms of customer, whether it's in terms of regulatory, or the battery side, the cost side, or the fame that everyone is aware of, I can only say that don't go by the current leadership in the market. It's going to change dramatically over the next 3 years. And typically we have given the guidance of between 1,000 to 1,500 crores a year. That's the range of capex guidance. So therefore more and more investment out of this pie will be towards an EV and premium.
All right, remember you can catch that full conversation with the new CEO of Hero Motocorp, Niranjan Gupta, right here on CNBC-TV18 all through the day. But with that, we are going to get into a short break on the show. On the other side, we have lots more news and updates of national importance that we're tracking, so stay with us.
इस बार इंक्रीमेंट पे क्या खरीदने का प्लान है? यार मैं तो अपना SIP बढ़ाऊंगा। SIP तो हमारा भी चल रहा है। और क्यों बढ़ाना उसको? हर साल जैसे तेरी इनकम इंक्रीज होती है, so should your SIP। वरना क्या? तुम्हारा SIP तुम्हारी लाइफस्टाइल के साथ नहीं बढ़ पाएगा। अब समझे?
हर साल अपने SIP अमाउंट बढ़ाने से आप इन्फ्लेशन का मुकाबला कर सकते हो और अपने लाइफ गोल्स को समय पर अचीव कर सकते हो। म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स आर सब्जेक्ट टू मार्केट रिस्क्स। रीड ऑल स्कीम रिलेटेड डॉक्यूमेंट्स केयरफुली।
सीधे सीधे, अरे नमस्ते, सीधे 99 एकर्स पे है फ्री प्रॉपर्टी लिस्टिंग। हाँ, घर कल ही लिस्ट किया था और आज लाइन लग गई। 99 एकर्स पे प्रॉपर्टी आएगी, लेने वालों की लाइन लग जाएगी। घर लेना हो या बेचना, 99 एकर्स से ही पूछना।
कोई फायदा नहीं नई कार खरीदने से पहले एको चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
Keeping up with the pace of life is not easy. To find the perfect balance, we need to savor the pause. See? It never ends.
एक है जमीन मेरी, एक है मौका मेरा, इसमें सब लगाऊंगा, अपने इरादों से मजबूत एक घर बनाऊंगा।
भिजवाना सिर्फ अल्ट्राटेक ही।
अल्ट्राटेक ही क्यों?
आप ही ने तो कहा था कि घर जिंदगी में सिर्फ एक ही बार बनता है।
घर एक, मौका एक, इसलिए सीमेंट भी देश का नंबर 1, अल्ट्राटेक, इंडियाज नंबर 1 सीमेंट।
It's time to break free. Break away from the routine to the greens and get lost in the world within. To steer through, to stop. Start again. Go forth and just let it all go. With JK Tyre's Ranger 80 for the ones who are wild at heart. JK Tyre, total control.
ट्रेडिंग shouldn't feel like this, इसलिए हमने बनाया ICICI Direct Flash Trade, जो देता है clutter free experience, quick entry और exits, live tracking के साथ, सिर्फ ₹7 per order. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch. Market continues to be in the red zone. Let's get you an update coming in from the aviation sector then. And cash-strapped airline Go First has announced that it has extended its cancellation of flights till the 12th of June. Meanwhile, the shares of SpiceJet jumped nearly 4.5% higher today after the low-cost airline announced that it would be partnering with FTAI Aviation to reduce its aircraft maintenance costs. The engine service provider plans to lease up to 20 engines to SpiceJet. Now, these engines are to be used to support the reactivation of SpiceJet's fleet within the next 2 to 3 months. In a press release, SpiceJet's chairman and managing director Director Ajay Singh has said that the move is to ensure that the fleet is up and running at all times without worrying about the engines or their maintenance.
Okay, so that is some important news that we're looking at from the aviation space. But moving on to the other important national headline, wrestlers Sakshi Malik and Bajrang Punia met with Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur last evening. And Punia has said that the centre has sought time till the 15th of June for investigations against Brij Bhushan to conclude. While addressing the media, Anurag Thakur also said that the Wrestling Federation's general elections will take place by the end of the month. He also added that an internal complaints committee that would be headed by a woman would be established. So that's the latest on the meeting of the wrestlers with the sports minister.
All right, and finally to the sports bit then, and this is something that every cricket watcher and lover is really keeping a close eye on. India is currently facing off against the Australian team in the final of the World Test Championship. Now, the second day's action will kick off very soon from now at 3 p.m. with Australia having dominated proceedings on the first day, raking up a total of 327 for the loss of only 3 wickets, and Travis healed the way with a quick-fire century, while Steve Smith is also unbeaten at 95 runs. And for the men in blue, well, Shami did a good job, as well as Siraz and Shardul Thakur all picked up 1 wicket each. So it was exciting to see 3 wickets gone, but then Australian team quickly stabilized after the lunchtime yesterday. So it's going to be an interesting match there, Pavitra.
For sure, an interesting match, and today's anyway been eventful enough anyway, right, for all of us, but a bit of a change of mood over there. With that, we are going to wind down in this edition of Business Lunch. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We leave you with a market that's pretty much all in the red. The mid-caps underperforming. Thanks for tuning in. Mid-cap radar will take this action forward.